Welcome in, Campo and Joe, ready to rock and roll on a Tuesday after another loss. Man, this is getting old. Well, we'll try and deal with it as best we can. Joe C. from XL Primetime, our head coach, Dave Campo, as we get ready to rock and roll. You've never experienced so much losing in your life as this team has been experiencing here.
Yeah, this has been a real struggle. I mean, and it's not a struggle to where you're getting just blown out. It's every game. There's just enough mistakes to keep you out of getting there, and it's close. And that's kind of the NFL. But at the same time, that doesn't matter because it's your team. It's your one that's going through it. And to have 6 games less than 5-point losses is really a shame, really.
It is a kick in the shorts. And look, we know that Jaguar fans are tuning into Campo and Joe because they either want answers, they want to feel good, or they want explanations as to why they suck so bad. Right. And look, this is nothing like either one of us or most of you out there expected. This team has unraveled in a way that I just never really thought possible. I thought Doug Peterson, the most professional hire this team has had since Tom Coughlin, yet it doesn't look like he's in control. He doesn't look like he's got the fire in his belly. He's now challenging the media, saying that you guys wouldn't know what I'm talking about. This thing is getting uglier faster and faster, Coach. And this was after a pretty good defensive effort from this football team on Sunday.
Yeah, well, frustration is tough. I mean, I've been in situations where you get a little bit of frustrated, but, you've heard me say a number of times that the only thing that concerns me is that I don't like to see anybody sweat. I never really let myself, even in bad times, if we didn't do something or I made a bad decision or whatever, I would say, hey, I know I made a bad decision there, but here's why I made that decision. Right or wrong. It didn't turn out correctly. And I don't get that feeling right now from Doug, and that bothers me a little bit. And, again, I really think he was the right hire off of Urban because how dysfunctional that was. But, and he got 2 9 and 8s, but the last 13 have obviously been a shame.
Yeah,
really.
It's 3 and 13 if you go.
Oh, yeah. Well, 13 losses,
over a 16-game stretch.
Right.
And so it's 100% pitiful when you think about it. You mean to tell me that Italian blood didn't come through and you get hot and fiery?
Well, I got fiery, but I never really, first of all, I never attacked the media. I can tell you that right now because that's the fastest way to take a dive. If you attack the owner or media, you got a problem. So I forced myself to to get into that situation. Now, I did go into situations where I was fired up that we weren't doing well. We're going to get this fixed one way or another, that type of a thing.
Right.
But
and the thing is that I don't put it under the heading as he attacked the media. He just dismissed the media. He decided to take one question that we're talking about a regular. Brent Martineau is not a guy that he's right there with Hicken all the time with Action Sports. And it's not like this guy isn't aware of everything that's going on. He covers this team on a day-to-day basis. And so anyway, when you do these types of things, it does set you up for more criticism. And the other thing, I was looking for the quote, but I don't actually have it in front of me, Coach, but he basically said, the players know the plays. It's trying to get it from the practice field to the game. And that was another remark. Like you said, you got to be careful with what you say, but he's basically saying, and this is blame game 101. We're teaching them, they're just not taking it to the field.
Right. And you really have to be careful with that as well.
Yeah.
That what goes on in the locker room. I think the only thing that I would say, though, at this particular time, and really the last 2 weeks, I have really, really zeroed in on the all 22 that you can get off of NFL Plus Premium, to where you see the entire field and you have a pretty good idea who's getting open, who's not getting open, who's out of their gaps, who's not getting off blocks, whatever it is. But you also get a pretty good feel of how hard they're playing.
Okay.
And I know hardness is not the same as winning.
Sure.
But at the same time, at this particular juncture, that's all they have right now. In other words, they won't have any chance unless the team is playing hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this team is still doing that. I don't see where some people are saying that there's a lot of quit. I just don't see it after the last 2 weeks of watching the tape.
I agree with you. And I feel like it's such a dangerous thing to challenge someone. And I love what Leon says is, worst two things, soft being one of them and quit being the other.
Right.
And and I'll just simply say the defense over the last couple of weeks has actually made an improvement. They were run on big time by Saquon and Jalen Hurts. They both torched them for big runs and big gains and big scores and all that type of stuff. But they played a better ball game, holding that team down for as long as they did. And then this game, to hold the Minnesota Vikings top 10 offense, average over 26 points per game, to hold them to 4 field goals. I jokingly said this on XL Primetime, Coach. The best player on the Jaguars defense or for the Jaguars defense was Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Because he made enough mistakes to keep this team in that game.
There's a lot of things that come out of that. If you're looking defensively at this football team, you have to give the coaches some credit from the standpoint that they've made a decision that this is how we're going to play. We're not going to give up the big play.
Right.
And we're going to play. They've gone from playing cover 2 in the red zone to cover 4, which I love because you're playing width instead of depth.
Okay.
So they've made a decision. We're gonna bend, but when we get in the red zone, we're gonna win in there. And that's the way you play defense when you don't have guys that you can say, okay, we can line it up against Jefferson and play man coverage and lock them up. They made the decision. Everybody was all upset about the tight end in this last game, that so many plays to the tight end.
Yeah.
Guess what? That's what they had to do to win.
Yeah.
They took away the explosive guys and said, look, if these guys beat us, then they beat us. They forced the ball to the tight end in a lot of ways and to the running back.
Yeah, because I was looking at this earlier, and we talked about this just a little bit, that T.J. Hockenson just barely is back in his second ball game, and they know how valuable he is. They went and got him from Detroit, brought him into Minnesota last year, ends up getting hurt beginning of this year, and barely is back. But they made sure that he got a heck of a lot of balls tossed his way, 9 targets, 8 catches, over 70 yards. Meanwhile, Justin Jefferson, who this is where you pick up as far as what they were trying to do, he was targeted 9 times, caught the ball 5 times, but less than 50 yards.
And see, that's the other thing that comes out in this. And I think, sometimes we, and I'm including myself in the media now.
Right.
Okay.
Old media member.
Yeah, I've gone to the dark side. But the interceptions were forced. In other words, they tried to force the ball to Jefferson. And 2 of the interceptions were forced balls.
Sure.
So when everybody gets upset, they're not forcing the ball down the field, our offense.
Right. Or getting it specifically
to a specific guy.
Yeah.
And especially down the field, because that's where you get the interceptions. You don't get interceptions for throwing a quick screen or a crossing route underneath or shallow, whatever. It's down the field. They forced the ball. And to be honest with you, that's what Mac Jones did at the end of the football game. He did what he had to do early.
Yeah.
It didn't work out because they were terrible on first down. That's probably the biggest thing that was bad about the game offensively. But then at the end, he tried to force the ball down the field a little bit, and it got him into trouble.
Yeah, so I want to get to that part of it. And this is where I'm going to get a little soapboxy here, but it's just the way it is. This is what the fans are feeling. They are ticked off that this team isn't showing any sign of life offensively, that they just don't have either a good enough game plan, a good enough group of players, the play from the quarterback, the blocking up front, the run game. We're talking, you can throw darts at all of these things, and they're all problems at one point or another. Right. Coach, this is now 2 very slow starts. Then this one, you punt on your first series, and then you go down the field and you sneak one in with Mac Jones, which was a pretty decent drive. And then the offense is never heard from again. Right. That is unacceptable.
Absolutely.
And so let's put this together. today, the Chicago Bears fired their offensive coordinator.
Right.
There have been a couple of other guys that have been sat down, fired, relieved of their duties, so on and so forth. This team needs to do something with their staff offensively. Yeah. We already know they're probably all going to be shipped out, but this is BS that you can have this low level of performance and not do anything about it.
Yeah, and again, I can't, dispute that. I mean, I see the same, obviously I lean towards the coaches.
Sure.
You don't
because
like
I was
fired. One for 46 years, but at the same time, I said this last week, there comes a time where you question the general manager, the coach, and the quarterback.
Yeah.
So those kind of things are there now.
Right.
And I think the disappointing thing is that it's not just one guy. You got a running back that can't block a blitz. Okay.
Yeah.
You've got Evan Ingram, who I think is an outstanding player. An early drive drops one right in his hands.
Second week. Early that's happened.
And so it puts you behind the chains. Okay. And then you got, offensive line in general that every once in a while they have a burp and you got a problem. Yeah. So you lose Kirk, who is one of your guys that all of these things add up.
They do. They really do.
And here's the other thing. If you fire the offensive coordinator on this team,
right,
then you're firing the head coach because regardless, everybody wants to, get press, get this and that. But it's obvious to me that they're together.
Okay,
whatever making the calls, they're together and putting a game plan together.
I agree with that. But what they've done is this thing has devolved into where it looks like it's predictable, it's easily defensed. And it's quickly neutralized. And so the only reason I'm asking for this or saying that something has to happen is we've had all this chatter. They're walking step for step together on either the game plan, play calling, whatever. Get one guy out of there, and then it's only on the other guy.
Yeah.
Now we already know Doug's out the door.
Well,
I get that feeling.
Maybe.
Okay. I should not include Coach in this. Okay, because he will fight for the coaches, and I don't blame him at all. But I guess what I'm saying, generally speaking, we as those that follow Jacksonville.
I mean, I'm with you there. I mean, I understand where they're at.
Like there's a couple of, as much as I hate to say this, there's a couple of dead men walking out there.
Yeah.
One of them is Mike McCarthy, a Super Bowl winning coach, and the other is Doug Peterson, a Super Bowl winning coach. And so the only reason I'm saying that, just go ahead and take one thing away.
Right.
Let Doug take that Waffle House scattered and smothered play sheet that he's got, and let's see the lips move on the sidelines. Right. Call some plays.
I can see your point, and I think that we talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
At the end of the season last year, about I don't think that our point was, and I'm saying because everybody was in the same. We weren't ready to fire anybody. No. We weren't ready to fire Doug Peterson a year ago, even though we struggled down the end. We found excuses for why it was struggling, right?
Yeah.
But we all said that, I don't think they're going to fire Doug Peterson, but I would not be surprised if he just said, I'm calling the plays and that's it. And he didn't do that, which was a mistake on my part, whether he was going to do it or not, because it would have taken a little pressure off.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I agree with you. I can't understand why he just doesn't take it over, and unless he's worried about his own ability to do it. And you can always point to somebody else if you're not doing it.
Exactly. So there's and Coach may say, okay, this is ours, conspiracy theory, because I think we're both making that point, is that once you take whoever that guy that everyone has on their dartboard as the bullseye, that's the problem. If you get rid of him, then you become the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that, I don't know if that's exactly where Doug's at, but I know the man has called plays and has been successful. And I can't imagine, Coach, have you ever seen a set of scripted plays in the beginning of ball games not work game after game after game?
Yeah. And again, some of it is this guy drops one.
True.
This guy misses a block. All of a sudden, you're behind the chains.
True.
But we have not been good on third down the entire, in the last 16 games. We haven't been good on third down. So, and it doesn't really matter necessarily whether it's 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 7.
Right.
We're the same. There's no. You get it, the key is to get it into manageable third downs, because you're always going to have third downs. You're not going to always make it on first and second down.
Right.
But we have been miserable on short and long. So it really hasn't mattered. So I mean, I can see your point, and it's going to come down to loyalty and, whether or not the fans go away.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two things to me that are the most important.
So coming into this game, Jaguars were averaging 21 points per game. That was good for 18th in the NFL. They were 30th on third down. That's coach's point,
right,
that they do not move the chains when they need to. They do not possess the clock. Take a look at the yardage that Minnesota stacked up, time of possession that Minnesota stacked up, all these things that they were able to do. They just weren't able to punch it in the end zone. It never, ever really should have been this close of a football game.
Right.
And it just, honestly, it drives people crazy. Now, you look around and you say to yourself, okay, there's a few other situations like this where things aren't going in the right direction and teams figure it out. Doug said after this loss, this might have been the Monday presser.
It was. I saw it.
Yeah.
I listened to it.
He said, maybe
I know what you're going to say.
So take it from there, because you heard it. He goes, maybe we're making it too hard. And they still have a chance to get the things done they want to get done. No, they don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what else he can say, though. I mean, from the standpoint that it's kind of like what I said about not quitting.
Mm-hmm.
If you can convince your guys
right,
that there's still hope, that and I'll tell you what the hope is. The hope is that the Houston Texans are coming back to the pack.
True.
Any way you look at it, they've lost 3 of their last 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the chances are 6% or 3% or whatever it is, but it's not 0%.
True.
And so I think you have to go in with the idea that the only thing I have is, guys, here's where we're at. Here's what you're doing. I'm happy that you're playing your tails off.
Mm-hmm.
We still have a chance, but this has to change. And whatever that is, the problem you have is that the guys are maybe thinking the same things that we are about who's calling the plays, what things are working, all of those kind of problems.
Yeah, and so it's funny because if you're a coach, you can't quit coaching. You absolutely 100% have to stay with what you believe has gotten you to this point, and you can't change. You have to make sure that you keep coaching and prepping the guys. That I agree with. They have not quit on him. I agree with you there as well.
Yes.
It does not appear that they have quit on him. They may not be the most talented bunch.
Right.
Even Ronald Darby has not quit as much as he's gotten beat this year.
Absolutely.
And so you look at this, and the Lions with Jared Goff threw 5 picks Sunday night. And Houston, you thought this is a wrap. They're going to get this game somehow, some way. Detroit comes through. They never give up either, and they steal that game from the Houston Texans. So right now, if you were to take a look at it, and you're taking a look at the AFC playoff picture, Chiefs are the number 1 seed, Bills are number 2.
Right.
The Steelers, give them credit for what they've done. They just barely gave up their first third quarter points against Washington this past week for the entire season.
Right.
They're 3rd right now. No one would have expected that. The Houston Texans are 4th. You're looking at division champs right now. Then you've got the Ravens 5th, because they are trailing the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North, as impressive as they have been.
Right.
Then you've got the Chargers 6th, coach. This is where it really gets interesting, because the Chargers are just now starting to catch fire. They are 6-3. Then you have a 5-5 Broncos team, 7th.
Right.
Jacksonville just get one more win out of all these losses, and they'd be 2 games out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and
now
that's you're making the point. Absolutely, because in all honesty, you're never out of it until the very last breath. And the problem we have right now is if you look at what has happened to this point, if Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback,
right?
Okay, and I don't know if he's going to be the quarterback.
He may be shutting it down.
Who knows? But if Trevor Lawrence is the quarterback and you're averaging 21 points a game, you have to look at the defense and say they have not played well enough to win. Now, all of a sudden, the defense might have figured it out. This is what we have to do. And now the offense is not playing worth a darn.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things. If you can put the two together for a couple of ball games, you might be right back at least to where you could say, okay, look, if we win this one and that one and this one, we got a shot.
Yeah, because if you start adding up what they haven't done on either side of the ball at one time or another, it's great to say that out of 8 losses, they have had 6 5 points or less losses. That's great to say. That's 6 one-score games. That is the National Football League.
Yeah.
That's what everybody goes through.
Yeah. Well, not everybody.
Well,
because,
you're right.
Because 6, that's unusual to have 6 where you've lost. Some of those games you win.
Sure. That's true.
That's
true.
That's the difference. We have not won any of those games. We've lost them all when it's tight. And that's part of the problem.
Right. It's a great point because either they sag defensively or
something happened.
Yeah.
We almost threw away one of them we won by 3 big plays. You remember?
With the Colts game.
The Colts.
Yeah.
At the end of the ball game. Kudos to the coaching staff because they've decided that's not going to happen. So, at least there's been some improvement.
And the Jaguars last in the league in passer rating allowed. That did not change, even though Sam Darnold threw the 3 picks, easily could have been 4 picks.
Right.
They give up big plays by and large. In this case, it was to Hawkinson and company, not necessarily as much to Justin Jefferson. But this should just bite you in the behind right now. The 7th spot is a 5-5 team right now named the Denver Broncos that almost beat Kansas City.
Right.
They're playing some pretty good ball on both sides with a rookie in Bo Nix.
Right.
The next team just outside the playoff picture are the Joe Flacco-led 4-6 Colts that you beat. Yep. And they're sideways in terms of their leadership and decision-making.
Yep.
They've sat down a top 4 pick from last year and gone with old man Flacco, and they are 8th. The Bengals, as much as they've had to endure, they're 9th. The Dolphins, who just barely picked up their 3rd win last night, they're 10th. They are 2 games out of the playoff picture right now.
Yeah. And again, the only negative, that's a positive. You ask how you keep the team going, that's what you do.
Yeah.
You do that. Here's the issue. The issue is, though, at no time has our team really shown that they can win those games.
Right.
I'll tell you right now, I thought they were going to get hammered by Minnesota.
Me too.
There was no doubt in my mind that I said that. I said the 3 bad things.
Yeah.
1 good thing and 2 bad things last week.
Yeah.
And one of them was they were playing the Minnesota Vikings. So you got to give them credit there. Yeah. But Goff threw 5 interceptions and won. Detroit might throw 10 interceptions and still win against this team because they haven't shown that they can win at the end of the football game. Yeah. And that's the worst stat of all. All those stats you talk about.
Right. It really is. And as we wrap our podcast up, what you just said takes us right back to the beginning. Doug Peterson is known as an offensive coach. He's known as a, quote, player's coach. He's a guy that has had success. This team does not have an identity offensively right now. They've now had to go to their second quarterback, and it's not like there's a huge I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. The gap between Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones should be bigger right now.
Right.
It should be.
Yeah.
And Trevor hasn't necessarily played as well as you wanted him to down the stretch.
Right. Correct.
And that makes the backup quarterback a little more popular.
Right.
Well, I don't want to hear any more chatter about how Mac Jones could lead this team. Just forget about that.
No way.
And the other point I want to make as we wrap this up, the Minnesota Vikings had a backup quarterback.
Yeah. Okay,
that was a give up for dead, I'm seeing ghost Sam Darnold.
Right.
That was never supposed to be the starter in Minnesota. Right. It was J.J. McCarthy just like all the other rookies that were drafted. He gets hurt, we never saw him.
Right.
And so let's not forget that Sam Darnold is a backup quarterback that's been leading this football team.
Yeah. You know, the interesting thing about the NFL, and I don't like offensive coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I never liked them. They're kind of like officials, you know. I don't like either. There's never one of those I've ever liked, but at least a few offensive guys I'm okay with.
Right.
But it took Minnesota half of the football game to start running the ball against what they call a shell defense. Right. They played either quarters or cover two or quarter halves most of the game. That's light box. Now, they did, at the end, start to run the ball more, and they got things going pretty good. But all these offensive coaches, I'm not sure they really know what they're doing, period. So, don't get real excited about Doug Peterson being a great offensive coach, because I don't know if he is or not, to be honest.
It's just another kick in the shorts.
And I'm kidding there a little bit.
Well, of course. But Brian Flores shut it down.
Yeah.
Okay. He shut it down.
Yeah.
And so that's how easily this team has been basically negated, neutered, whatever you want to call what happens to them in every single offensive ball game, it feels like. All right, we're done, Coach. We got to get ready for those Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens with that. But another Campo and Joe podcast in the books. Joe C. from XL Primetime. We'll catch you in the afternoons. And our head coach, Dave Campo, we appreciate you checking us out.